On a world forged by volcanoes, a blind dragon hatchling is cast into the rust deserts to die, until a lone human breaks the law and lifts him from the ash. Hunted by a royal squadron and cornered on a neutral station, one tiny breath could expose a deadly secret and rewrite an empire. Will courage outrun tradition before the doors lock? If you're new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and tell us in the comments where are you watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The morning on Aranis begins with a sound that feels older than fire. The bell of Aranis rolls across black mountains, through lava-cut valleys, and into the prism nurseries where new life waits. Crystal walls hold the echo. Every step is a whisper. Every breath is a prayer. The audience is the future. This is Hatch Day, and the whole world seems to lean in. Matriarch Sura walks the polished floor with slow care. She is the keeper of the codex and the voice of law. Beside her moves Elder Malcor, thin and strict, counting hairline cracks in stone-bright shells. Each egg is the size of a boulder. Each egg carries a promise. Ruby means flame. Cobalt means frost. Obsidian means rare power, the kind that writes history. The air smells like warm metal and clean ash. One egg does not rock like the others. It does not sway in a steady rhythm. It shivers, then stills, then shivers again, as if it listens to a secret drumbeat. Sura feels a pull in her chest. Malcor does not. He marks a tablet. He says the word obsidian with a pride that belongs to the past. The shell splits with a bright crack. A small black dragon tumbles onto the cold stone. His scales shine like glass. Soft wings twitch and fold. Tiny claws search for grip. The hatchling lifts his head and opens his eyes. The eyes are silvered, cloudy, and unfocused. He turns toward the bell he cannot see. He bumps his own shell. Malcor's breath catches. He says the hard word that a room like this does not want to hear. He says, sightless. Around the chamber, other newborns wobble and puff warm smoke with proud surprise. This little one does not find the light. He waits for the floor to speak. Sura watches him longer than a leader should. She has carried the law for many seasons. The law says strength must be clear, and weakness must be cast out. The law says a dragon who cannot see will make the whole pride fall. Sura knows the law. She also knows the ache under her ribs. The trial of sight is prepared. Lantern targets drift into place. Rings lift and hover. Attendants step back. The tiny black dragon stands at the center, unnamed, unclaimed. The bell sounds the start. He turns to the sound, not to the shapes. He breathes a neat ribbon of fire, but it kisses a blank wall. He jumps to fly, finds no air, and slides into stone. Younglings on the side hide a laugh. Sura raises one finger, and the laugh dies. Enough, she says. The word is soft, and yet it hurts. Elder Malcor bows to tradition. He speaks the old sentence with clean certainty. The rust deserts. Sura closes her eyes. She has never refused the codex. She's never loved it less. At last she nods. The guards lift the hatchling. He curls small, seeking a heartbeat. The bell of Aeronis fades behind him. The rust deserts spread like a red tide beyond the city. Dunes of iron sand shift, shards of black glass rise like teeth where lightning once struck. The air tastes of smoke. The guards fly low and leave the child on a patch of hard ground. There is no ceremony, only the cold work of obedience. The little dragon lies still. Then he stirs. He tests the wind, the grit, the thrum under the earth. He is alone. Far away, a human named Joran Vale checks a screen inside a hidden cave. He is a researcher, not a soldier. He has come for samples and quiet answers, not for a fight. His scanner finds a small heat point moving across open ground. Too large for a desert rat, too small for an adult. Curiosity and conscience wake at the same time. Joran moves through red canyons shaped by ancient lava. He follows the signal into a cut where the wind forgets to blow. He finds the hatchling curled beside a shard of glass. The small chest lifts and falls in shallow pulls. Dust clings to black scales. The eyes look past him, cloudy as frost. Joran kneels and speaks the way people speak to frightened things and to their younger selves. "Easy, little one," he says. His voice is low and steady. He offers water on a cloth. The hatchling leans into the voice, not the shape. He drinks. He rests his head against the warm sleeve. Joran's face softens. Something inside him decides. He wraps the hatchling in his jacket and carries him to the cave. The cave is shielded to confuse scanners. It smells like solder and tea. He mixes a simple formula from protein and mineral salts. He feeds the baby in drops, matching the rhythm of breath. The tiny dragon purrs, a sound like a kettle before boil, and settles near Joran's throat. Safety feels like a heartbeat you can hear. Before sleep comes, Joran gives a name. Sable, he says. The word is gentle and strong. It fits. Outside, the wind changes. Patrol lines sweep the sky with silent precision. The law is looking for what it has thrown away. Sable senses the pressure before the instruments do. He presses close and hums a quiet warning. Joran dims the lights and waits for the noise to pass. The bell of Aranis still echoes in his memory. It is the sound of beginnings. But this beginning does not follow the codex. This beginning is a human hand lifting what a law dropped. In that small act lives the heart of an inspiring rescue story. A real lifestyle tale of a blind dragon hatchling, a human rescuer, and a choice that could change two peoples. The night in the desert grows quiet again. In the cave, Sable sleeps on Joran's shoulder, and the world takes a new breath. Dawn reached the cave as a thin silver line, and Joran Vale was already awake. He warmed a small bottle, measured minerals, and whispered to the blind hatchling on his shoulder. The little dragon, now called Sable, felt the heat and relaxed. This quiet routine was survival. It was also the beginning of an inspiring rescue story that felt real and human. By mid-morning, the cave smelled of heated stone and tea. Sable learned Joran's voice, his footstep, and the rhythm of kindness. He climbed the human's shoulder as if it were a safe ledge. Though sightless, He mapped the world through tiny tremors and shifting air. In simple terms, he listened to the ground, and the ground spoke back. Neela Tor arrived without warning, dust on her boots and worry in her eyes. She had been Joran's partner once, and the law had made them cautious. She froze at the sight. ... A human, with a baby dragon pressed to his neck. She called it reckless. She called it a sentence. Joran answered with the single truth that mattered. The hatchling had been left to die. Neela wanted proof that this rescue was more than emotion. Joran placed one finger to the floor and scratched softly. Sable turned his head with perfect accuracy. A drop fell from a pipe. He flinched before it landed. Joran crossed the room without a sound. Sable tracked him, as if the cave itself told his path. Neela watched, then nodded. The blind dragon was not defective. He was different. Their days settled into simple work. Joran mixed formula, logged growth, and recorded each new skill. Neela tuned the cave's shields to hide heat and sound. Sable explored by touch, learning distance and echo. He found a tiny perch above Joran's workstation and claimed it like a lighthouse. This small life transformed the cave into a home, and the voiceover of hope grew stronger. One quiet morning, Sable went rigid. He gripped Joran's collar and released a low, urgent trill. Nothing on the scanner. Nothing in the air. Still, Joran trusted the warning. They packed the essentials and slipped into the back passage. Hours later, the instruments finally agreed. A patrol grid was sweeping the deserts. The signature of the lead ship marked a royal hunt. Prince Tarek was near. Flight became the only choice. Neela said the name of a place that promised neutral rules. Haven Wheel. To reach it, they would need a guide and a fast path to orbit. Joran copied his research cores to 2 drives, tucked them away, and wrapped Sable in a scarf that kept him calm. Their escape was not dramatic. It was careful, quiet, and necessary. The red canyons waited like a maze carved by fire. Sable took the lead, not with sight, but with sense. He tasted soft winds that leaked from hidden cracks. He heard the shape of tunnels by the way footsteps changed. When air grew tight, he stopped. When it opened, ... he moved. In a voiceover meant for all ages, this is the point where listening becomes a survival skill. On the second night, they met a man seated on a stone ledge, hands open to show peace. Bexara wore old scars and an easy smile. He was a smuggler with a ship hidden where maps forgot to look. He agreed to guide them, for a price. Neela bargained with credits and favors. Joran offered data that might help both species. Bex accepted with a grin. They traveled at dusk, letting the wind erase their steps. The sky turned copper, then black. Without warning, wing beats rolled down the canyon, heavy and final. 6 Drakari dropped from the dark, armor gleaming. A voice like polished steel demanded surrender. It called Sable property. It promised mercy if they obeyed. Joran felt the old fear rise, and Bex pointed to a narrow crack in the rock. Sable did not run. He faced the pressure of bigger bodies, the way a small flame faces storm. His chest swelled. ... A bright, clean breath flashed from his mouth and kissed a canyon wall. Sand turned to glass. The hunters paused. Their surprise opened a sliver of time, and Joran used it. He called Sable, quick and clear. The hatchling spun and sprinted toward the narrow way. They crawled into tunnels where a dragon wing could not spread. Sable led by vibration alone, mapping turns the way a musician hears a song. The passages were tight, cold, and winding. Claws clicked. Boots scraped. Breath counted distance. Far behind, frustrated roars echoed until the stone ate them. In this rescue story, the desert itself became a shield. Hours later, a thin wind touched their faces. They emerged on a dark slope far from the patrol grid. The stars looked close enough to touch. Bex studied the glass stuck to Joran's sleeve, proof of a flame too precise for a typical hatchling. Neela pressed her palm to Sable's head and whispered thanks. Even in fear, gratitude has a clear voice. They rested in a hollow and planned the climb to orbit. Haven Wheel felt both near and impossible, yet the echoes in the red canyons had taught them what mattered. Trust the senses that others ignore. Move before danger shows on a screen, and hold tight to the bond that turns strangers into family. This is an inspiring, real-life style story about a blind dragon and a human rescuer, about courage, compassion, and the steady work of hope. Tomorrow, they would aim for the sky. Tonight, they listen to the desert breathe. Haven Wheel turns in the dark like a slow clock, and the ship carrying Joran Vale, Neela Tor, Bex Arau, and the blind hatchling called Sable eases into its light. The docking arms open with steady grace. Station beacons blink a welcome that feels almost human. Sable tilts his small head at the change in pull and hum, sensing the gravity seam before it settles. This is neutral ground, a crossing of worlds. And tonight, it holds an inspiring rescue story. They step into corridors lined with trade stalls and soft announcements. Voices rise and fall in 100 accents. The air smells of machine oil and sweet fruit. Joran keeps Sable tucked inside his jacket, the whiskers peeking like black threads. Neela walks a half-pace ahead, eyes scanning for risk. Bex glides beside them, friendly and alert. They move with the careful speed of people who know safety can be real and fragile at the same time. Their goal is simple: find a healer who will see beyond fear and law. The name comes from a quiet vendor who recognizes kindness when he sees it. Selen Veer, an exiled Drakari scholar. A clinic near the wind chimes, made from old ship ribs. Joran thanks him and follows the soft ring down a side corridor that hums with recycled air and distant engines. The door to the clinic slides open, and the room welcomes them with clean light. Selen stands at a console that glows like a calm lake. Scales the color of pale steel catch the light without glare. Their voice is even and warm. They listen to Joran speak about the desert, the exile, and the rescue. They look at Sable without flinching. Then they say the words that open the next chapter. Let us see what the body already knows. The scan begins. Gentle sensors trace patterns no one else has measured in years. The screen displays two maps. On one side, a typical young Drakari brain. On the other, Sable's living network. Selen points with a careful claw. The areas for hearing, touch, and field sense curve wide and bright, braided like strong cords. The visual centers are small and quiet by comparison. Selene explains in plain language for any listener. Not broken, not less. Instead, a trade. Sight is reduced so the other senses can flourish. This is adaptation. This is possibility. This is hope that fits science. Joran exhales as if a weight leaves his ribs. Neela studies the readouts and nods. She is practical. ... But her eyes shine. Bex leans against the doorframe and smiles in that easy way of people who survive my noticing. Sable relaxes on Joran's shoulder and purrs, a low kettle sound that fills the small room. The voiceover of this real lifestyle story would say it simply. The blind dragon hatchling is not defective. He is different, and his difference can save lives. Then the station's alarm rolls like distant thunder. Lights shift to a cautious red. A calm voice declares a Royal Drakari fleet has requested docking. Protocols engage. Stalls shudder. Corridors clear. Neela checks the feed and sees a name stamped in gold. Prince Tarek. On Haven Wheel, he cannot seize anyone by force, but he can stand in the central plaza and call for a lawful challenge. And he does, with flawless ceremony and a gaze that tests resolve. The crowd gathers in a wide ring under high lights. Vendors angle carts. Travelers whisper. Joran sits forward, sable close to his throat. Neela rests a steady hand on his sleeve. Selene steps into the circle with the calm of someone who has waited a long time to speak. They claim the right to represent the human in the challenge. The commander accepts. Rules are read. A line of light marks the arena floor. Tradition stands on one side. Change stands on the other. The first exchange is swift. Tarek moves like a blade. Selene meets him with economy and patience, turning flame into curls that warm air instead of cutting it. And then Sable goes tense. The tiny head angles toward the North Service Bank. His whiskers tremble. He pushes at Joran's collar with urgent claws. Not fear, warning. Joran reads the body and believes. He whispers to Neela, and she slips into a service hatch with quiet steps. Beneath the plaza floor, she finds a panel that should hum like a healthy heart. It does not. Wires tangle where none should. A heat source ticks like a bad clock. Hands move fast and careful. The device comes free, ugly and dull in the bright light. Above, the crowd gasps as the commander raises it high. The plaza is spared. The story shifts. The blind hatchling heard what others could not. Tarek stands very still. He is a prince who trusts law because law kept his world alive. Now, he watches a small life protect strangers who are not strangers anymore. Selene lowers their head, not in defeat, but in invitation. Words can serve where flame cannot. The commander pauses the match and calls for counsel. For a breath, Haven Wheel belongs to understanding. Selene speaks first. In simple, strong language, they ask for protection of emergent hatchlings and for trials that measure true capacity to live. Neela supports with evidence, clear and direct. Joran offers to share research, so both peoples learn. Bex, in his way, promises routes and supplies for clinics that must grow quickly. Because law should be clear to every voice. Protect emergent hatchlings, even when their senses are different. Test for the ability to live and to help others live. Share guardianship across species when trust is proven. Treat difference as a source of knowledge. Build a network of safe nests and clinics. Listen to alarms spoken by unexpected mouths. Choose compassion when fear tries to lead. Names gather under those lines. The commander signs and stamps the seal of Havenwheel. Engineers sign. Market leaders sign. Dockhands sign with grease still on their fingers. Travelers sign, and then promise to carry the message to other ports. Sura's seal arrives by relay and lands on the page like a sunrise. The oath is posted on the public boards and translated into many tongues. The wind chimes outside the clinic catch a faint draft and ring like small bells. Work follows words. Neela sets up a training session for station teams on how to read non-visual signals. Joran uploads the first dataset on Sable's senses, written in clear language so anyone can learn. Selene assigns watch shifts and quiet time so the hatchling can rest between scans. This is how big change happens. With signatures, then with work that looks like care. Near the window, Joran holds Sable as the little dragon settles into sleep. The tiny head tucks beneath his jaw. The purr is a soft engine that fills the human's bones with calm. Neela stands nearby, smiling in the way people do when the storm has passed, but the lesson stays. Prince Tarek prepares his ship, not to hunt, but to carry a new policy home. He asks for a copy of the oath and promises to read it aloud in the high halls. Selene turns off bright lights and lets the room breathe. Outside, the station turns. Ships rise and descend, each a small story carrying someone's hope. The plaza returns to trade and talk. Yet a new baseline has been set. The old script, abandon the different, punish the brave, has been replaced by a gentler rule. See more, listen longer, protect first. The voiceover says it clearly for those who need simple truth. The blind dragon hatchling is not a burden. He is a guide. The human rescuer is not a thief. He is a friend. Together they helped write the new oath of the sky. This chapter closes with quiet light. Havenwheel glows like a ring of lanterns. Sable sleeps on Joran's shoulder. Neela then Bex plans supply routes. Selene files the first clinic report. Tarek's flagship leaves a service corridor, engines muted in respect. And far away, on Eranis, the bell will soon roll across the mountains again. When it does, it will echo through nurseries, where every egg, no matter how it rocks, will meet a wider welcome.